Won't do that.
Good morning. Okay. Welcome. We're going to get settled into our shared sacred space. My name is Ann Packham. Welcome to the University Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I've been a member here about, I think, 13 years or so, and I wanted to welcome everybody. Whether you are online, hello our friends who are watching from online, thank you for joining us, or whether you're here in person. I would invite you to silence any devices that may distract you throughout the service. And I do appreciate if you are not feeling well, please stay home and watch us online on YouTube or join our Zoom room so that we don't share our germs with anybody. And finally, for those of you who are sitting in here, for our emergency exits are the door that you came in through, out through the Memorial Garden, and as well as out through the back here in case there's any reason that we would need to leave. Before we get into the actual meat of our service, we ask our committee chairs or event chairs to come to the microphone and give us some updates, brief updates about what's going on.
So two things. We had our Seder Friday. It was wonderful. Thank you so much to everybody who helped. It was a lot of work, but as always, it was wonderful. And it's my labor of love that I do for this community. And thank you so much, everyone who came and helped out. And second of all, our women's group is not going to meet this month. We're going to actually have it Judy's memorial services that day. So I think that's going to be a lot for one day.
Good morning, Carl Packham on behalf of David McElroy, on behalf of Men's Support Group. We are meeting tomorrow here at church, 6:30. Bring something to eat, bring something to share. Any questions, see me after.
Joey Cole, I've been asked to note that we are having the Building Beloved Community Beyond the Binary. I believe it will be at First U. It's on Saturday, April the 26th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The keynote speaker is Spencer Bergstent. I think I'm saying that correctly, but perhaps not. The Pride chapter is hosting as well as First Unitarian. There is a registration required, and I'm going to be posting this on one of the signs there, or one of the doors. Thank you.
It's also in the notable news.
Janet Levin. So our discussion group, New Inquiring Minds, is meeting after the service at noon in the library. And our topic today is humor and laughter. So if you have a great joke or a funny story, or if you just want to have a good time, please join us. So Freud said that the more heartily one laughs at a joke, the less one is in the mood to analyze it. So we will see if that's true. And just one other thing, in 2 weeks, we will be meeting again at 9 o'clock before the service, and it will be open mic.
Hi, Lori Hospitality. 3 quick things. One, we had a wonderful Seder on Friday night, and somebody left a dish. Second, I want to again tell you the menu for the service auction is going to be chicken cacciatore over linguine, roasted vegetables over linguine, and somebody else is bringing a gluten-free, which I don't know exactly what that is. And then there'll be garlic bread and salad. Last thing, there's still openings in May and June to help serve the other members of the congregation coffee. The sign-up sheet is there. I really am trying to give Robert a full venue of people before I leave. Thank you.
Hi everyone, Tay with RE. So for Easter today, I had some misunderstanding with it, so just to clear things up, everything will still be happening during typical RE time. We will have two groups going at once, doing one side doing the regular egg hunt, one side doing the dragon egg hunt, then they switch. The egg drop will still be done after service for anyone who wants to stay, participate, and then make their structures and everything. So that's the schedule for today. So there is a regular egg hunt, there is the dragon egg hunt, there is the egg drop for anyone who would like to do it. Woo!
Hi, I'm Sarah. This is Lindsay. We're here about the auction. Next Sunday after service. It's going to be a party, it's going to be a lunch, and it's going to be an auction. It's going to be great.
We have, at this point, 50 items, which is fabulous, and they're worth, we're going to exceed our goal, I'm sure, of $5,000. And if you haven't already told me your choice of meal, it's either the regular meal or the vegetarian meal or the vegan gluten-free meal. Please tell me which one you want, because I need to let the cooks know how much to prepare for. Also, we need volunteers because you are the auction committee. And thank you to everyone who has already signed up, but please see me after service. Now, if you have an item that is for auction, the best time to bring it would be this coming Saturday between 5:30 and 7 p.m. We have volunteers here ready to set up the library and get it all set up. If you can't bring it Saturday, bring it Sunday before 10:30 so that we have time to put it in there before service starts, because we want to have everything lined up and looking pretty. Does anybody have any questions about the auction? If you haven't registered already, you need to do that online, and the link is in the notable news, or Sarah will be available next Sunday so that you get a bidder number. People are already bidding, and I've already been outbid on something. And I am definitely going to be a cast member in the murder mystery at the pizza parlor, but that party may fill up even before the actual auction starts. So check it out, and it's going to be grand and it's going to be fun. Sarah can sign you up next Sunday if you don't sign up ahead of time.
The online auction ends Saturday at 4 o'clock. And then the top bidder will become the first bidder of that item where you bring the items here, and the bidding continues in person.
Oh.
Right. Now, that is for items which are open bid. For items like our events, like the murder mystery, where there's a certain number of slots, those you just pay for and you got it. Okay? All right. See you then.
I just wanted to add a little plug for one of the events is on May 9th. It's a game night here at the church, and childcare will be available, I've been told. So just a little plug for that event.
They could play games too, right?
Yes.
Yes.
The kids will play games, but separate from the adults, so that they'll have different kinds of games.
Very good. Okay. I'm here on behalf of the program committee. Our speaker for next week has health concerns with someone in the family and will be out of town, so we just found out they canceled. And in light of Earth Day, we're going to be doing some community sharing. Our UUA in the latest UU World. How many of you got that copy? That came recently. Read that. There's a lot of good information. But email me at programs@universityuus.org or uuf.org, whichever you like. And if you have something you'd like to read, some action you're involved in that you'd like to share, but we'll be building off the UU Ministry for the Earth and sharing together. And if it's a little bit shorter than usual, that will be okay because we have the auction. That's why we didn't look for another speaker to fill the spot. So help me out with that next week. And now I'm turning to my Vanna White role with Melanie.
So first, before I get into the money thing, well, this is the fundraiser that David and Marilyn put on in March, the love letters, reading of the love letters, that fundraiser brought in just a little over $1,000. So that was after all the expenses. So we really appreciate the McElroys putting that together and doing that for us. And moving on to our Ignite Your Spark Pledge Drive. So we have another week, so please get your pledges in. There is a QR code. You can get your phones out right now and do it online and be done. There is a link in the notable news. You can also go, if you go to the website, be sure you click on the rectangle that looks like this, as opposed to the actual donate button. The donate button will ask you for a credit card or debit card information. You're in the wrong place. We want to know how much you think you'll be able to contribute starting July 1. We also understand that these are challenging times and unpredictable. Just tell us what you believe you'll be able to do July 1 through next June. If that changes, just let us know. But just based it on what you think you can do today. As of today, we've only received 35%, and we want 100% participation. We've only gotten 35% as of Friday late afternoon. So that means 65% if you still need to do your, add your spark, yes, and then we will put your name on here, and it's only names. You know, no dollars, there is not a single number on here. And there will not be a single number on here. So, and also, and then we keep this board in the hallway for everybody to see. If you want paper, there's paper over there, and you can just put it either in the offering basket, or if you do it after service, you can just hand it to me or to Martha. And if you have any questions, just let us know. If you are new to the congregation, you please fill out your pledge. You've been here a while and you did it last year, you need to do it again. We base our budget on this, and our budget starts July 1. So this really helps us with the planning to know how much income we're going to have and what we will be able to afford to do, and what we might have to cut out. Yes, Sarah? Then on the paper and also online, there's a little box that says waiver request, and that still counts as you pledging. You're just letting us know, hey, I understand, and maybe you'll be able to do it more through your time. If not, we understand that too. So you still get a spark. You still get a spark. So yes, even if you click the waiver box. Any other questions? Okay. Any other announcements? I guess not. Okay.
You certainly have a lot going on here. Thank you very much. My opening words today are from the Reverend Dillman Baker Sorrells, entitled "For Holy Days on Which We Recall the Old Stories." For holy days on which we recall the old stories, we light the flame. For Passover, which reminds us of the courage and strength of those seeking freedom in the past, we light the flame. For Easter, which reminds us that love is our greatest challenge, we light the flame. For gathering today in this sacred space, we light the flame. For the opportunity to be together as a community, to remember the past, to plan for the future, and to be alive in our present. We will light our chalice, I think, next. Oh, we have opening music, sorry. Opening music. This is performed by Inclusion.
follows you back home. I'm a streetlight shining. I'm a wildlife blind and bright, burning off and on. It's times like these you learn to live again. It's times like these you give and live again. It's times like these learn to love again. It's times like these, time and time again. I'm a new day rising. I'm a brand new sky ahead. The stars are born tonight. I'm a little divided. Do I stay or run away? Leave it all behind. It's times like these you learn to live again. It's times like these you give and give again. It's times like these you learn to love again. It's times like these, time and time again. Oh. It's times like these you learn to live again. It's times like these you give and live again. It's times like these you learn to love again. It's times like these, time and time again. It's times like these you learn to live again. It's times like these you give and give again. It's times like these you learn to love again. It's times like these, time and time again. It's times like these you learn to live again. It's times like these you live again. Times like these you learn to love again. It's times like these, time and time again.
Thank you, Paul. So our chalice lighter today is Chase. Chase is 14 years old, uses the pronouns he and him, and he went to a pool party yesterday, which was really fun, by the way. Oh, let's get it again. Try that again. Sorry. The third time's a charm. We'll say together the words on the screen. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And each week we come together in this congregation to affirm our fellowship and why we come together. So I invite you to share with me the words on the screen. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. I want to take this opportunity to invite, to welcome everybody here who may be visiting us for the first time or several times. Please take an opportunity to get to know us. We are a really fun group. As you can see, I always tell people this is like going to church in your own living room, and we enjoy coffee, conversation. We're having a whole session on laughter today. So, and every week is different here, which is what I really like about it. So I invite you to come back more than once. We have speakers from religious traditions, from academia, from our nonprofits, and our own members of our congregation. So take a moment, and we have our friends here online as well. We don't want to forget about them. Thank you for joining us online. And take a moment then to greet your neighbor. And if you see somebody you don't know, make a particular effort to say hi. So we're going to come back together and continue that conversation afterward with coffee and tea. So next in our service, we're going to have a Passover reading, and I've invited Sarah and Jill and Joey to help me out. So would you want to come forward, or you want to do it from your seats? I think because we have the microphone, it might be easier if we use the mic. Right. And maybe the one in the middle. Is that easier, Patrick, for if they're in the middle? Yes.
Obviously unrehearsed. Pack nothing. Bring only your determination to serve and your willingness to be free. Do not wait for the bread to rise. Take nourishment for the journey, but eat standing. Be ready to move at a moment's notice.
Do not hesitate to leave your old ways behind, fear, silence, submission. Only surrender to the need of the time, to love justice and walk humbly with your God.
Begin quickly, before you have time to sink back into old slavery. Set out in the dark. I will send fire to warm and encourage you. I will be with you in the fire, and I will be with you in the cloud.
I will give you dreams in the desert to guide you safely home to that place you have not yet seen. I am sending you into the wilderness to make a new way and to learn my ways more deeply.
Some of you will be so changed by weathers and wanderings that even your closest friends will have to learn your features as though for the first time. Some of you will not change at all.
Some will be abandoned by your dearest loves and misunderstood by those who have known you since birth and feel abandoned by you. Some will find new friendship in unlikely faces and old friends as faithful and true as the pillar of God's flame.
Sing songs as you go and hold close together. You may at times grow confused and lose your way. Touch each other and keep telling the stories. Make maps as you go, remembering the way back from before you were born.
So you will be only the first of many waves of deliverance on those desert seas.
It is the first of many beginnings, your Paschal tide.
Remain true to this mystery.
Pass on the whole story.
Do not go back. I am with you now, and I am waiting for you. Thank you for my crew up here. And now is the time in our service we will invite you to come up and share joys and concerns. These are joys that are we'd like to lift up as a community, but also we feel that if you share a burden, we can help share and lighten that load a little bit for you. And please come to this microphone here so it helps facilitate our friends online hearing us and seeing us.
My joy is I went to the pool party.
Woo!
I have several concerns, actually. I think my husband has a joy, but I will go with the concerns. So I get a call from my sister Friday afternoon, and the last time she called me was 3 years ago when she had breast cancer, or she had a positive on her mammogram. So I knew it was going to be bad news. And I said, what's the bad news? And she said, well, our stepfather has died. His name is Ray. So Ray has died, and he's 95. He was in good health, but he went into the hospital for a minor procedure, and that happens, I guess, when you're 95. Anyway, I didn't know my stepfather very well, so I'm not personally broken up over it, but this creates a really difficult situation because my mother has dementia, but she still has capacity, that's the word. And so she cannot live alone where she is, and yet she's absolutely insisting that she's going to live alone. So her plan is to get married right away to her third husband. Anyway, so we had a long, ridiculous discussion with her that didn't go anywhere. And then 6 hours later, I got another call from my sister, and she said, so Ray is still alive. And I said, what? And she goes, yeah, he's actually still alive. And then I found out he's in the ICU, and it doesn't look good. So actually, we are concerned about that. We're concerned about the whole situation, but there was a moment of levity there. Anyway.
Hi, Caitlin McElroy. My mom had surgery last week. I think she mentioned it during Joys and Concerns. It's on her ankle. She's in a little bit of pain, but she's trooping through. She's a strong cookie, and she's got to keep her foot levitated above her, or propped up above her heart for 2 weeks. So yeah, not super fun. She's feeling a little cooped up. So just keep her in your thoughts.
Hi, Rachel Wisner. I got to spend last weekend, I went back to my dad's house in Doylestown, Pennsylvania for the first time since he passed. And it was a lot, and I wasn't sure how I was going to react, and it was I cocooned in there, and it was very comforting. And I took my son with me, and he was able to grieve a little bit, so that was really good. And then my daughter and son-in-law and granddaughter moved out yesterday, so we had a big moving, and they're up in New Smyrna Beach now, so not too far away, but already this morning it was a very quiet house.
So a friend of mine said to me the other day, what are you doing Saturday? And I said, I'm going to a protest. And they said, of course you are. So I did. I went to a protest in Cocoa yesterday, which, by the way, if you don't know Brevard County, it's very, very red. There was over 1,000 people there. Mostly positive stuff from the people from the cars, a little bit of, the typical whatever. But it was all good, and it was very uplifting to see so many Brevardians there.
Good morning. I'm Jessica Guthrie, and I'm Judy Shear's daughter. And so my concern, obviously, is I miss my mom, who passed recently. But my joy was to be that two things. One is that I'm glad she's at peace. She suffered for a long time, so I'm glad she's at peace. And my other joy is to thank all of you for your concern and your care during this time, because I know she felt really at home here. And so we're glad to be doing her service here in a couple of weeks, so thank you for that.
Morning. As Jessica said, her mother and my lovely wife, Judy, passed away a few weeks ago, and it's nice to see all my friends here, and thank you for your kindness, your thoughts, and we'll have a celebration, as Jessica mentioned, a week from Friday. Good to see you all again.
I have a couple of joys. I talked to Barry London 2 days ago. He's recovering nicely from his double bypass surgery, which was not what they were anticipating, but he seems to be doing fine. And when I talked to him on Thursday, he said they were going to release him to go home. So he's still kind of grounded for a while, but I hope to see him again sometime soon. I'm glad he's doing well. He seems to be recovering nicely. And the other thing is I very much enjoyed going to Margie's mansion, her estate, yesterday with her and Lucas. They were just wonderful hosts, and it was a really great party at their house. So I look forward to it twice a year. I'm looking forward to it again.
Happy Easter.
I have a couple of joys to share with you. One, I don't know how familiar you are with hiring in higher ed, but I got a job at UCF, and I've been wanting to tell you for weeks, but it takes forever in higher ed to make it official, so I applied in October, and finally I'm able to tell you it's official. I have a contract, it's signed. And then my other joy is that I got to connect with my nephew this week by sending him a little picture of a bird and asking him to ID it for me. And he's so excited about this, and I'm so excited about this because I'm a birder. So it was super cute.
I think many of you already know this, but our longtime member, John McCormick, passed away. There was a celebration of life for him yesterday afternoon. He and his wife, Sylvia, were just rock stars in our congregation for so many years. And John was unfailingly cheerful. He would come up here and tell us poems from Anonymous. And he was the primary cheerleader for Workday and was just an all-around fabulous person. So he will be missed.
And I have a joy and a concern. My joy is that my baby brother turns 45 today, and I just mentioned that because he was born on a Sunday, and it was just, I remember it like it was yesterday. So, and my concern is on school shootings. You know, I have two kids. They're not at FSU, but at UF. But the fact that this continues to go on in our society just makes me really sad. So. Let's take a couple of moments to think on and meditate on some of the joys and concerns that were spoken today, as well as those that may have gone unspoken. Amen. So now it is time for all ages, and Tay is going to lead us in something on time for all ages. And I know it has something to do with eggs.
Hi,
Hi, everyone. In honor of our kids doing their egg hunts and their egg drops and finding tiny treasures today, I have 6 eggs up here filled with things that I hope we all find throughout our life's journey. I also know that the one on my right is pink. It is supposed to represent red because we did not have a red egg to put things in. So please let me know which color I should open first. I'll just shout out and I'll hear what I hear. Yellow. I heard yellow first. Yellow. Our yellow egg is filled with happiness. Yellow is one of the most cheerful colors, reminding us of life and the energy around us. Often the color associated with the sun, the color yellow reminds us of easy summer days and brighter times ahead. What color should I open next? I heard red. I also cannot open a same color twice, but I hope you have double happiness. Our red, pink, it represents fortune. Red is a powerful, eye-catching color that catches our attention. Traditionally, in Eastern cultures, especially China, red is the color of good fortune. It is the color often used in the New Year as well as weddings. What's the next color? Blue. I heard blue. Blue is for serenity. Blue is the color most closely related to the sea and the sky, vast landscapes of freedom that leave us with a sense of peace. When we take the time to sit and enjoy these canvases of various blues, we have the chance to clear our minds and offload our hearts. What's my next color? Green. Green is the color of growth. Green is the color of so much of the nature around us. The color green is the reminder of constant change and the growth and renewal of life. Things around us are always changing and evolving, and with each change, we have the chance to grow alongside the world around us. 2 more colors. Purple. I wrote imagine on the card, but it's imagination and I couldn't fit it. Purple is the color with so many meanings, but the one I hope that is relevant to all of us is the creative and imaginative properties that this color invokes. Much like Harold and his purple crayon, this color is to remind us that anything is possible and that if you can imagine it, you can create it. I will not ask because the last color up there is orange. I heard it quite a bit, so I don't know if I can say that. Oh my goodness. Orange is the color of optimism. Optimism is defined as a hopefulness and confidence about the future or successful outcomes of something. Orange is a bright, playful color that gives us hope for a better future. Thank you all.
And now it's time for our interlude and offering. We are a generous congregation, so we encourage you to make any donations online if you don't already have yours on auto pay. We also share 40% of our loose offering with a local nonprofit. Right now it's the Orlando Center for Justice, which is losing its funding to help migrant children who have no representation. So please give generously and we will have inclusion.
Came from the peasant wars in the 1500s, and it became popular here in Germany as a rallying cry for the people that opposed the Nazi regime, and they would return money down and help the Allies and help the state, and therefore it became forbidden to sing this song. Today it is sung with great enthusiasm and mystic in Germany and 15 million people all around the world. I learned fourth grade. It became popular again, the English version through Pete Seeger in the 50s. Economicus and Fry. Die Gedanken sind frei, kein kann sie erraten. Sie fliegen vorbei, wie nachtlicher Schatten. Kein Mensch kann sie wissen, kein Jäger erschießen mit Pulver und Blei. Die Gedanken sind frei, mit Pulver und Blei. Die Gedanken sind frei. Die Gedanken sind frei, mein Herz fliegt blau. Die Gedanken sind frei, mein Gott fliegt blau. No stalker can wrap me, no hunter can track me, no one can deny. Die Gedanken sind frei, no one can deny. Die Gedanken sind frei. So I think as I breathe, and this gives me pleasure. My conscience decrees this right I must treasure. My heart will not cater to glorification. No one can deny the Gedanken sind frei. No one can deny the Gedanken sind frei. If tyrants take me and throw me in prison, my thoughts will burst free like blossoms in season. Foundations will crumble, structure will tumble, as free people rise. The Gedanken sind frei, as free people rise. The Gedanken sind frei.
We're going to send out our children so they can do their Easter egg hunts. We love you and bless you and send you on your way. We love you and bless you today and every day. Our speaker today is Pastor Jim Coffin. Jim is a regular frequent flyer here at Triple U. His latest work obligation, which he retired from just not that long ago, was he was for 11 years he was the director of the Interfaith Council of Central Florida. So let us welcome Reverend Coffin.
Thank you very much. As always, it's let's see. I'm supposed to turn this on. I'm a techno illiterate, so anyway, we've got it working now. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, and I find it to be inspirational to me, but it kind of stretches me a bit because you operate outside of my normal parameters, you know. So I find that very very helpful. The presentation I'm going to give today is kind of made up of about 3 parts, not necessarily equal parts, but I'm going to talk just a little bit about Easter. And I suggest that Easter is the Christian holiday of hope. And then I'm going to tell a story or two. And then I have just some random thoughts that I don't have in a really super organized way because it just didn't seem to naturally flow from thought A to thought B to thought C and so on. And so it's going to be a little bit like whack-a-mole, you know. You know, a thought will come up and we'll address it, and then we'll move on to the next one. But first of all, I'd like to look at Easter, and I highly commend the Unitarian Universalists because of the fact that you pay attention to the special days of other groups, other religious groups as well. And I think that's really important because there are lessons that we can learn from each other, and too many of us have a narrow focus, and we just stay within our own boundaries and don't pay attention to others. And the fact that you're honoring Passover and you honor Easter and so on. That's very good. I'd like to share a poem with you about Easter, and as you know, I like poetry. I've shared this with you, but it was probably 5 years ago, so most of you won't remember it. But in poetry, when it comes to religious poetry, Christian religious poetry, I often find that it's a little bit sappy, it's a little bit saccharine, just a little too worshipful. And so what I like about this poem, it was written by an Australian Roman Catholic. What I like about it is that it really is a very raw look at the crucifixion of Jesus, but kind of written from that rough and tumble Australian style that they have. And this is called "And a Good Friday Was Had by All." And I like it because of its raw realism. You men there, keep those women back. And God Almighty, He laid down on the cross timber. Old Salinas, my offsider, looked at me as if to say, nice work for soldiers. Your mind's not your own once you sign on that dotted line, Ave Caesar and all that malarkey, Imperator Rex. Well, this Nazarene didn't make it any easier for us, really. Not like the ones who kick up a fuss so you can do your block and take it out on them. Salinas held the spikes steady and I let fly with the sledgehammer, not looking on the downswing, trying not to hear above the women's wailing, the bones give way, the iron shocking the dumb wood. Orders is orders, I said after it was over. Nothing personally, understand. We had a drill sergeant once, thought he was God, but he wasn't a patch on you. Then we hauled on the ropes and he rose in the hot air like a diver just leaving the springboard. Arms spread, so it seemed, over the whole damned creation. Over the big men who must have had it in for him, and the curious ones who will watch anything if it's free, with only the usual women caring anywhere, and a blind man in tears. That's a Good Friday was had by all. And anyway, when I think about that, I like to think about it as much as I can in the context in which it was taking place. There are times in Earth's history where there's an air of expectation. People expect something to happen. And there were messianic expectations that were rife at the time that Jesus appeared on the scene. And the message that Jesus presented, the claims that Jesus made for himself, and the way he interacted with people helped to fan these flames of messianic fulfillment. This must be the Messiah. At least a lot of people thought that. A lot of people didn't think that. There's always this kind of dissension and tension that exists. But those who were believers in him saw day in and day out during his 3.5 years of ministry things happening that they thought were giving confirmation to what it was that they were expecting from him. And they were thinking that this would probably be a literal government that he would set up, and they're kind of thinking about, well, what roles might we play? And even his disciples who interacted with him the most were sort of jockeying for positions in the new government. And they had great expectations and they had great hopes and everything looked so good. And then a Good Friday was had by all. You know, they saw what took place. They saw him crucified on the cross, and all of their hopes were absolutely shattered. And so here they had such wonderful expectations, and they thought such good things were going to be happening, and now it looks like it's all completely past. And then we go on, and we have the story of the resurrection, and we go back, and obviously not everybody views these stories in the same way. And I come from a conservative literalist background, and that's what I grew up with as a child. And so I tend to view all of this in a fairly literal way. There are other people who wear the name Christian, wear the label Christian, who view it in a much more metaphorical way. that there are those things in life that completely devastate us and leave us in despair and in a sense of hopelessness. And we have to find new life beyond the despair. And that's what happened to the believers in Jesus, is that when they could say that he was resurrected from the dead and that there was hope beyond the grave, everything suddenly changes. Now, there are a couple of things I find interesting, and I recognize that in talking to a group like you, we have a complete spectrum of thought. Okay, and so we have those who would be comfortable embracing the idea of Jesus as the Messiah in a somewhat literal way. And we have those who would say, we're not even sure that Jesus existed, let alone that he was the Messiah. And yet there may be metaphorical applications that can be made as we face life on an everyday basis. You know, that we go through these periods of despair and hope breaks through. You know, when it seems there is no hope, hope comes through. And that's why I call the resurrection of Jesus and Easter I call that the Christian's holiday of hope, because that's what it really is all about. And so the Apostle Paul talked about it, and he says, you know, this resurrection, this hope, and Paul used the expression, as it's recorded in the King James Bible anyway, the blessed hope, that this Jesus who rose from the dead will come again, that there will be a resurrection of everyone. And he said, if Jesus didn't rise from the dead, then there is no resurrection down the track somewhere. And we've been telling you that there is a resurrection down the track. And so if that's the case, we've been lying to you, and you're a pretty miserable group of people. Because, So he said, really, the resurrection is kind of the linchpin of Christianity. Either that happened or it didn't happen. And if it didn't happen, well, then the rest of it kind of falls apart. And there are those who have been able to say, no, metaphorically, it always is there. It's always applicable. There's always the need in times of despair to find new hope. So that's the first part of my presentation. We can check that one off. Now, it just so happens that Easter has a little bit of a special meaning for me, not necessarily in a truly religious sense, but in an experiential sense. In 1997, we had a son who was a senior in high school. And in the middle of February 1997, my wife and I received the kind of call that you never want to get. And it's the chaplain at the Orlando Regional Medical Center. And he says, your son is here, and he's been in a bad car accident. And he has both of his tibias broken. There were a lot of other broken ribs, it was a pretty significant accident. And so my wife says to me, well, you go down quickly so you can be there with him. And I'll stay here with the other two boys. And they'd had colds, and she didn't want to rout them out of bed. This was getting close to midnight now by the time we got this call. And she said, you go down and be with him. And so I went down there, and he was conscious, and he talked to me, but he slowly was kind of drifting away. And I just thought, well, this is because he's heavily medicated. I didn't know that when bones break, there is in bones, in the marrow of the bones, a fatty substance. And in traumatic situations where the bones are badly broken and the flesh is badly torn, this fatty substance can get into the blood. And so they call that fat embolism. And usually the lungs filter that out, but if you have quite large veins and so on, arteries through your lungs, it can go directly to your brain. And so within 24 hours of the accident, he was in a coma because of fat embolism, cerebral fat embolism syndrome, which was totally new to me. And so he is completely dead, except that he's on life support, and his, this is keeping him going. Obviously, this is a pretty traumatic experience to go through, and you wonder, okay, how much does he know of what's going on? Well, day 1 and day 2 and day 3, you're not worried about so much of that, but as time wears on, as a week passes, as 2 weeks pass, as 3 weeks passes, as 4 weeks passes, as 5 weeks passes, and he's just a blob lying there. And it's pretty traumatic for a parent to go through this, and I think it was probably even more traumatic for his brothers to go through it, to see their brother in that situation. They hadn't repaired his legs. He'd lapsed into a coma before they got to do that, and they said, we probably really should repair his legs just in case he lives. And they said, but it will make him worse. You know, this will exacerbate the problem, because in the orthopedic things that we have to do, it's going to release more of the fat embolism, and it's, you know, so, but if we don't do that, and he lives. And so I went to the doctor and I said to him, you know, we have a pretty good support system, and so I really don't need you for support. I need you for medical truth. And I said, are we at a point where, if we're looking at him going into surgery to have these legs repaired, we really should be signing do not resuscitate orders? You know, he's only 18 years old. I want my kid to live. I want him to, you know, my wife and I, you know, more than anything else. But if he's going to be in a vegetative state forever, you know, and there was no need to resuscitate him following some problem with the surgery, you know, we really would like to have him be at peace rather than to, you know. So we couldn't ever establish with him any kind of communication. You know, it's, James, if you can hear us, you know, blink your eye, or, you know, it was always just blank, you know, nothing. And so then you wonder, though, is he perhaps hearing this but not responding to it fully? And might it be that he would go on living forever, so to speak, you know, a full life in a vegetative state, where he maybe hears and understands. Maybe he thinks he's blinked his eyes. Maybe he thinks he's communicated with us, and we don't know it. We don't know it. And he can't communicate it to us. And so here he is trapped in a body, and I've read about such things happening like that. And so it makes it a really, you know, very difficult thing to go through. Well, about 6 weeks passed, and we came to Easter weekend. And on Saturday night, before Easter Sunday, he woke up. And now, when I say he woke up, it was foggy, you know, but there was some response. The only response that we'd ever had during those almost 6 weeks of him being in the coma was that when my wife would talk to him, and she would say, James, I love you, and, you know, she would talk to him in the motherly, loving way, tears would roll down his cheeks. No bodily movement, but tears would roll down his cheeks. And so he woke up, and the first thing he said was, where's my pager? This was back in the days before most kids had cell phones, so where's my pager? But you know, just to kind of give a little sense of the trauma, I was at the hospital, and my wife was at the hospital, and our 2 kids were at our 2 out of coma kids were, the other kids were at the hospital. And so the 15-year-old was there with him, and he turned to him and he said, where's my pager? But it wasn't clear speech. And of course he had a trach in and all this kind of thing, and so he couldn't understand what he was saying. So he came out of the hospital room to where we were in some waiting room, and he was just weeping uncontrollably. And I thought, he's died. You know, I thought, that's it, he's dead. And he said, he's talking, and I don't know what he said. I can't understand it. And So we went in, and of course this was great that he was coming around, and we eventually figured out what he was saying. It was hard to understand, but where's my pager? He was wanting to pick up where he'd left off. So they called us in for a multidisciplinary consult, and they said, your son's woken up, and he was considered quadriplegic. That didn't mean that he couldn't move anything, but every limb was impaired substantially. So he had to learn to walk again, and he had to, motor skills and all this kind of had to be developed again. And it was these little fat embolism, lodged in various parts of the brains, in the brain, literally hundreds and thousands of them, just small particles that can't go any further in the capillary. And so it's a little different from a stroke where you may have a big blood clot, then a whole region of the brain is completely shut down. This was every region of the brain partially shut down. And so they wanted to be good medical people. They wanted us to know that just because he woke up didn't mean that we were out of the woods yet. And so they asked us, well, what are your goals for him? And, so this is a physical therapist, and an orthopedist, and, the whole list of people who would be in this multidisciplinary consult. And I said, well, my goal for him would be that he gets up and walks, and he goes back to school, and he graduates, and we just go on as if this never happened. And they roll their eyes. Like, oh man, what are we dealing with here? And I said, well, just hold on for a minute. We're really very early in this exercise. He's been in a coma for almost 6 weeks, and we didn't know what was going to happen. And I said, my thing is, I think we should shoot for the stars. And I don't want to see any therapy not done because, well, it probably wouldn't do any good anyway. I want to be totally optimistic. I want to shoot for the stars here. And if we ultimately have to settle for the moon, then we'll take it. Okay, but right now, I want, myself, and I want every one of you to be shooting for the stars. And so to make that kind of a long story short, he was able, the accident happened in mid-February. He was in the hospital for 89 days. He learned to walk again, and he got back enough motor skills that he was able to march with his graduating class. And then it took him, it took him 8 years actually to get through college. But he has a master's degree now, and he is, he has a very, very good job. He has a couple of kids. He's married, and it's just wonderful to see the progress that was made. Okay, so that's kind of tied in with Easter a little bit, in that it was on the Saturday night before Sunday morning, Easter Sunday, that he woke up. And of course, being a biblical scholar, in the Bible times, and the Jewish tradition is still the same today, the day begins at sunset the day before. Okay, so he actually, sunset the day before, the evening and the morning are the day, doesn't go the other way around like we do it in our secular reckoning. So I say, well, he did come around. He was resurrected on Easter, And so when Easter rolls around, that gives me an added memory, that's quite significant. During those times of despair, and it gets pretty heavy as it goes on and on and on, and you just don't know if the kid's going to wake up or not, and if he does, what the limitations are going to be. During those times of despair, hope is what we turn to. And in the Christian tradition, Paul actually says, and we talk a lot about as Christians being saved by grace, just the sheer goodness of God. We talk about being saved by faith. You believe in the sheer goodness of God. But Paul actually said that we're also saved by hope. Now let's take this out of a religious context, and let's just look at it as life every day. The kind of joys and the kind of concerns, let's go deeper than that, the kind of sorrows, the kind of heartaches, all the kind of things that you deal with. What is it that really saves you? We are saved by hope. I'm talking about in a practical way. I'm not talking about in some, mansions in the future. I'm talking about it's the ability to have hope. Now, hope is kind of an interesting word, and it's kind of like dream. It's a synonym for dream, and it's kind of like vision. You can imagine it. It's hope. It's belief. It's I think this can actually happen. I can't guarantee it will happen, but I think it could happen. It can happen. And it's also action. These things are given substance by the fact that we do something about it. If we have that hope, if we have that vision, if we have that dream. Martin Luther King had a dream, okay? And he shared that. It's interesting in Spanish, and I'm not fluent in Spanish, but the word esperar means, it has kind of gradations of meaning. It means hope. Okay, it also means expect. It also means wait. In other words, I hope it's going to happen. In fact, I expect it to happen. And I'm now waiting for it to happen. But the waiting isn't sitting back with hands folded and all that kind of thing, doing nothing about it. It's an active waiting. It's living as if this is a reality. And so it's one that I find very interesting. Well, I'm going to finish up. This is Alexander Pope said, "Hope springs eternal in the human breast." And we quote that a lot. You hear that. It's a little cliche that's out there. Now, it goes on from there, and he's a little more realistic. And he says, "Man never is, but always to be blessed." In other words, we have a lot more hopes than hopes that become reality. And yet we keep hoping. This is just the human being. So we all are hoping. Hope springs eternal in the human breast. Man never is, but always to be blessed. And I would say, I'd soften it a little bit. I'd say, man seldom is, but always to be blessed. In other words, a relatively small percentage of our really big hopes come to fruition. But I can almost guarantee that nothing comes to fruition that wasn't preceded by hope. And so when we meet these moments of despair, and we meet them individually, we meet them collectively, I would say that our nation is in a sense of despair right now. And so we have to keep hoping. We have to keep hoping. One other experience, this is a very brief one, but I'll close with this. One of our sons ran away from home when he was probably about 16 years old, something like that. And so, this is pretty traumatic for parents. And so he's gone, and well, what do? You can't force the kid to stay at home when he doesn't want to stay there. If he leaves, he leaves. And so my wife wanted to make sure that he always knew that he was welcome to come back. He always knew that there was a place here, that this still existed. There was security here. And so she always made sure that the porch light was on every night. She always made sure that the key that was hidden where we, if we forgot our keys, we knew how to get in, so he would know how to get in. She always wanted to make sure that any message that was projected was a message of, "You're welcome, come back." And she hoped that he would come back. And so I would say that collectively, what we're going through as a nation right now is that we've kind of had a runaway, as it were, And things are not on course like what we were used to. And this is very disruptive to everybody, whatever the political affiliation may be. This is difficult because it's not what they want or what they expected. And if collectively we can make sure that we're leaving the porch light on. You know, if collectively we can make sure that we're making it clear that we hope that we're all going to be able to come back together as a big national family once again, and make it clear that, you know, the key is in the same place where we always left it. I think hope can do wondrous things for us. And I do believe that the Apostle Paul was right. He talked in a very theological, very religious sense, but in a very practical sense. I think hope is one of the few things that truly can save us, that can make us the society that we want to be, that make us the individuals we want to be. And so I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's just extinguish our chalice together with the words on the screen. Until we are together again. I believe we have our closing music, which is I Believe, with our inclusion group.
I want to give credit to Reverend Kathy, who helped me with the closing words today. In the Christian story of Easter, after Jesus is crucified and placed in a tomb, his disciples come to the tomb. They are surprised that the stone closing the tomb has been rolled away. The tomb is empty. Jesus is not there. The metaphor of the empty tomb has been variously interpreted. These are the words of Reverend Paul Sawyer. We gather today in humility, awed by the stone rolled back and the surprise of the empty tomb. We gather in defiance of the pain and the injustice that came before, and the pain and injustice that will likely come again. We gather in hope that life can begin anew, that our differences can be bridged, that the beloved community can arise at last. We gather in faith that the light shines in the darkness and the darkness does not overcome it. We gather in wonder of the beauty we can see and the mystery of all we can never know. Here among the lilies, amid the warm glow of friends and families and guests, we pray for faith and strength to stand for what is good, to do what we must, to live lives of integrity and peace. We pray in gratitude and joy for this community, for the beauty of this day, for the hope and love promised in this ancient story, in the stone rolled away. Amen and blessed be. Please join us for coffee and conversation. Are we having a postlude or that's it? Oh, we have a postlude, sorry. And you can, again with inclusion.
So the postlude, as she gets her microphone adjusted. Postlude, we've done it before. It is a song that is a little bit more upbeat, a little more modern, but it is one that is talking about believing in yourself, not giving up, having that hope and having that belief that things are going to get better.
Don't write yourself off yet. It's only in your head you feel left out or looked down on. Try your best. Try everything you can. Don't you worry what they tell themselves when you're away. It just takes some time, little when you're in the middle of the time. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be alright. Hey, you know they're all the same. You know you're doing better on your own. So don't buy it. Live right now. Just be yourself. It doesn't matter if it's good enough for someone else. It just takes some time, little when you're in the middle of the ride. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be alright. It just takes some time, little when you're in the middle of the ride. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be alright. Woo! Don't write yourself off yet. It's only in your head you feel left out or looked down on. Just do your best. Do everything you can. Don't you worry what the bitter hearts are gonna say. It just takes some time, little when you're in the middle of the ride. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be alright. It just takes some time, little when you're in the middle of the
No coffee and conversation.